Hi, Venom Cannon 13 here. Today we're going to talk about the Benelli Supernova Tactical Shotgun. This shotgun is a 12 gauge pump action shotgun, and it is capable of firing 2 3/4, 3 inch and 3.5 inch shells. Comes from the factory as a 4+1, so it holds 4 in the magazine chamber, magazine tube. It comes with the one I got comes with the ghost ring sights, and the sights on the front are fixed. The rear sight is adjustable for windage and elevation should you need to do that. Another feature of the Benelli Supernova is the built-in recoil reduction system, and that makes quite a difference. I do own a Nova and a Supernova. The Nova does not have the recoil reduction system, and the Supernova does, and there's quite a difference between the two. The Supernova, you can fire it a bunch of times and it doesn't really make your shoulder sore. The Nova kicks like a mule. 1 or 2 shots from that and you're really done with it. So the recoil reduction system works real well. The barrel has a fixed cylinder choke. Overall length 40 inches. From the factory, the listed weight is 7.2 pounds. Another thing that the Supernova comes with is this button here that's on the forearm, and that's called the push button shell stop. And what that does is when you cycle the action to load, it will, if you push that in, it will prevent a shell from the magazine from entering the chamber. And what they would use that for is if you have the rifle loaded, now you have one in the chamber, you have one in the tube, and you want to unload the chamber without bringing another shell from the magazine tube into the chamber. So in that case, what you would do is, as you slide the forearm back, you would push down the button, and as you can see, pushing that button prevents another shell from coming out of the magazine tube. So you could unload that and not unload the chamber and not load another shell from the magazine. Again, if you push that down, nothing loads, as opposed to regular, it loads. Okay, so that's the push button shell stop button on the forearm. Another thing you can do is you could load slugs into your side shell carrier, load buckshot into your magazine tube, and that would allow you to cycle the action and take a shell from your side shell carrier, a slug, put it in and load it without loading a buckshot from your magazine tube. So that's another feature of the Benelli Supernova. And so we're going to go ahead and do a takedown. We're going to make sure we're empty first. Okay. So the first thing, doing a breakdown, we're going to have to take this light off. And we're going to loosen the screws. Well, knowing this light, these outside screws hold the clamp to the picatinny rail. The inside screw is what holds the light in the mount, so we don't need to take this one out. We just need to loosen these two on the end, and then once that's loose, it'll just slide off. You don't need to take them out, you're just loosening it. So that will take that out. Then we're going to need to take off our picatinny rail. When you take it apart, make sure you keep all the screws together so you remember which screw goes where. And then we're going to switch take off the clamp. Clamp is also from Nordic. Then we want to keep all our parts together. And speaking of keeping parts together, whenever you do mods and you want to keep all your original parts, you want to keep them in, I use these Ziploc bags with labels. You want to put a label in the bag with it so you can keep all your parts cataloged. You won't lose them. This is the original magazine spring and the original magazine cap that came with the Benelli, and I have them here. Some other parts or some other things, and everything is labeled. Parts from Glock. You always want to keep all your parts and keep them well labeled, so should you need to go back to them, you have them and they're all labeled and you know exactly what goes where. Okay, so once we've done that, we need to take off the +2 extension. And to do that, we need to take the spring out as well. First, the spring is under a lot of force, under a lot of tension. You always want to wear eye protection. You could very easily get this spring right in your face. So you want to really protect your eyes when you're working on any weapon system, mostly because of springs. And you can see that's really under quite a bit of force. This is the replacement spring that came from Nordic with the +2 magazine extension. It's a replacement spring. Obviously it has to be longer, but you can see it's pretty much in there about double it. It's about a double length compression there, so it's under a lot of force. So we want to be careful with that. Alright, then we can take off the extension tube, and then the barrel comes right off. This barrel is 18.5 inches, which we can see. You measure that from there. It goes right to 18.5 inches. From there to there, so right on 18.5. So that's an 18.5 inch barrel. Okay, now we need to get the forearm off, and to do that we have to take out the trigger assembly group. The trigger assembly group is held in by these two pins coming out this side, and this is the other mod I was talking about. This is the Teflon follower that replaces the original factory follower, and when the spring is in there, the one end is in the follower and then the other end is held in place by the magazine tube cap. So we don't want to lose that. Okay, so we're going to take out the trigger assembly group using these pins. What I like to use for that is a chopstick. Chopstick comes to a nice fine point. It won't scratch up my polymer, it won't scratch up the metal, and yet it's strong enough to withstand the some tapping. And it's also good for using with a cloth. If you're trying to get into some nooks and crannies, you can use it to get into nooks and crannies inside your action and in pistols and stuff. If there's a small spot that you really can't reach into, this is a good for reaching into there. So I use a chopstick for that. So we're going to take out these pins. Big pin is in the front, small pin in the back. Whenever you're taking stuff apart, keep track of where it went, make sure you know which way to put it back. Trigger group comes out, and that's as far as we take that apart. We don't do anything else with that. Now we can see inside. Here's the bolt assembly group, which you can see in the front there. You can see the bolt head, and you can see the extractor. Okay, so what we need to do is take the action arms, disengage them from the bolt group. So what we do is lift up with your fingers. And then we slide the bolt group out of the notches, and that frees the forearm to come off. And then to take the bolt group out, we put your fingers in and you're going to squeeze. So you put it in, you squeeze it, and you pull it out. So here's our bolt group. Here is the forearm, and they're in there like this, and you can see that the notches fit directly into there on both sides. So we're taking them out to get it apart, and when we put it back together, we're going to need to put those back in there and make sure that they fit in there, so to make sure it's working properly. Okay, so at that point we're pretty much disassembled as I would going to do it when I'm cleaning it. So you would do your cleaning. We can also look inside and see that when the shotgun arrives from Benelli, that it is drilled and tapped. You can see here 2, and then 2 more here, and that's what you do. That's where these screws are going to attach into. So in order to get this on, the best way to do it is to disassemble, and then you're going to knock those pins from the inside out, and then after that you'll be able to get the scope, a rail, whatever you want to put on top here, you'll be able to get that on. So you disassemble it and knock out the plugs from the inside out, and then that's allows you to put your attachments on. And then there's 2 more screws here which are holding on your sights. Of course you don't want to mess with those unless you're replacing the sight. So they were pretty much fully disassembled as much as we want to do for a field stripping clean. So then you would go ahead with your cleaning, and then we're going to reassemble, and we're going to do that kind of in the reverse order. So the first thing we want to do is put the bolt group back. Again, we're going to squeeze it, drop it in, and then you can see that that's going to ride back and forth. And then after that, we want to put the forearm back. And remember, you're looking upside down, so it doesn't go like this, it goes like this. And then what we want to do is fit the action bars into the slots here. You kind of have to fit them both at the same time, so it might take you a couple of seconds to get it. So you kind of have to line them both up at the same time. And then once you do that, it'll go right in. And then, as we discussed earlier, then you have to reconnect the action bars to the bolt group. And so to do that, you are going to lift up. So we're going to push this in. We're going to lift one up with this thumb. You lift another one up with this finger, and then you can use your pinky to just slide the bolt group up. And then you see that they'll drop in, and there you go. Now you can see they're riding together, which is what you want. And then you're going to pull this forwards, and then we're going to replace the trigger assembly, which is just a simple drop in. And then we're going to use the pins to hold that in place. Remember that the big pin goes in the front, small pin goes in the back right above the trigger. We use our trusty chapstick. Going to gently tap that in. And we're good. And then we want to test it. Make sure it's riding properly in the slot, everything's connected, and we're good. Okay, then we need to reattach the barrel. So to do that, we want to make sure that our sling is not twisted. Okay, so that looks good. Then the barrel just slides right in. Oops. to slide this forward a little bit, and then this will fit in. And then you want to make sure that the ring goes over the magazine, and right like that. And there's a little bit of springiness there, so we're going to hold this with our hand so we can get the magazine extension back on. And if you were using it in the factory setup, the factory magazine cap would go right on here. But since we're using a magazine extension, we're going to use that instead. Just tighten that, and now this is on. Okay, and now for the hardest part of the whole thing is getting the spring back in. And what I like to do for that is I have a gun vise here. Makes it a little bit easier. We're just going to use that to hold it while we put that back in. Make sure you have your cap ready to go. And make sure you remember to put your the follower back in, and you want the flat part facing in because the spring is going to go into the open end. So we make sure we have that in there. Okay. Okay, so once you put it in, you still got this much left. And what I like to do is use a finger over finger. Use one finger to hold it while the other finger gets the next coil. And keep pushing it back. Again, you want eye protection in case you lose control of this. And when you're almost got it, you're going to put the rest into your magazine tube cap, and you use that to get those last couple in. And I like to, if you turn it this way a couple turns, you'll feel it click into the threads, and then you know you're into threading, because it's very fine threading, so it's hard to line up. So if you turn it the opposite way first, you'll feel it click into the threads. And make sure you don't let go of this until you know that you're definitely secure into the threads. Okay, then you're good. And that's good. Okay, then we're almost done. We just want to put our light back on, and that's going to be done with the barrel clamp like we had before. So as we put that back together, you'll notice that the clamp has a bigger section and a smaller section. The smaller section goes on the barrel, bigger section goes on the magazine tube, because obviously they're different sizes. And when you put that back on, you just want to put the screws in just enough to get started so that they hold. But you don't want to tighten them up until you have both in. So we're just going to put that in enough to hold it. Switch it over. Okay, and that also allows you to position it before you finally tighten it down. And you want to alternate sides and just tighten them a little bit at a time until it's on there. Again, you don't want to over tighten it. I've not had any problems with this sliding. Just want to gently hand tighten it. You don't want to crank it down, just so that it's not loose. Okay. Then we need to put the rail back on. Which is going to hold our light. Again, just tighten it a little bit until it's good and tight. You don't want to crank it down because you're going to need to get it back off. So you don't want to put it on too tightly. And then we're going to put our light back on. And I have it on this side as opposed to on this side so that I can, as I'm holding the shotgun here, I can actually activate the switch with my thumb. So that's why I have it on this side. Okay, so there we've done a disassembly and a reassembly. Again, we have the Benelli Supernova Tactical Shotgun. We have a Nordic +2 magazine extension, Nordic barrel clamp with a Nordic picatinny rail, and add to that a flashlight or light or whatever you want to put on there. Mesa Tactical Sureshell Shotshell carrier, Shotshell carrier. And it comes in different lengths. I have the +6 and Sling. Just got that from the local sporting goods store. So there's our Benelli Supernova Tactical Shotgun. It's a lot of fun to shoot. Looks pretty cool, especially with the new green laser sight we got. Mostly just because it's cool. Not particularly practical, but it is really cool. So there it is. A lot of people have shot this one. Everybody's really enjoyed it. With the recoil reduction system, many ladies have shot this as well. They've handled it pretty okay. Over the kick from the 12 gauge is not too much, so it's still comfortable to fire. Good times with this. So I don't think I have anything left on that. That's Benelli Supernova Tactical Shotgun. I would just say that if you want to try to do some mods, go ahead and do them. These are mostly exterior mods, not too hard. I've done some modifications on Glocks that I own. It's not that hard. I'm not really that handy, but you can get plenty of videos and instruction on the internet to show you how to do it, and it's really pretty easy once you kind of get the hang of it. It's not very difficult at all. So I would encourage you, if you want to do some mods to your weapons, a Glock or what have you, go ahead and get them and give it a shot. Works pretty well, and we're real happy with this one, Benelli Supernova Tactical Shotgun. Thanks for Brendan, my video camera operator, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time.